So, welcome, ladies, to another episode of Thrive Thursdays. I am super, super excited, as always, to be up here with you, ladies. Feeling out there? Everybody good? Good. It's hot.
Yeah.
I'm in Virginia and it's hot. And so, just a quick story. We got the heat outside, and then I got my own personal heat going on. I don't know what has happened. I think I didn't hit it, y'all. I need y'all to pray for me. And if y'all don't pray, then I don't know, send up a flag, a pigeon, something. But a sister needs some help because it's hot out here. But anyway, super excited for you ladies tonight. This is going to be, I don't know, I've been feeling giddy like for the past few days, itching toward this call. Every time at the end of the month, I'm like, oh my God, it's about to be Thrive Thursdays. Oh my God, it's about to be so lit. And it never ceases to fail. But tonight, we have a phenomenal lady. I'm super excited that she is here with us. Let me just give you a little bit about her, but actually, I don't know. We'll just kind of dialogue. We'll just kind of go back and forth. But I've only spoken to her like one time, but it's funny because immediately when I spoke to her, I said, I know you, saw you on stage 2 years ago. And she was like, really? And I was like, yeah, I saw you on stage because I am petty. Okay. Some of y'all might not like to admit it. I am petty. Let me tell you how petty I am. I really tune in at conference when the ladies talk. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm petty like that because I have been in boardrooms where I was the only female. Okay. I have freaking 4 brothers, and I'm the oldest. Thank God I'm the oldest, so I can tell them what to do. I have a slew full of uncles, a ton of uncles, who, of course, now I have aunts because they married them. Thank God. All right. I have been in so many organizations and been a part of fundraising, been a part of all these different events and businesses and clubs. Men, 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 men. I love the guys. I do. I truly do. And I have a son and he's my heart. I do. But I don't know. I just really like hearing what us ladies have to say. And that is the reason why we birth Thrive Thursdays. And so I instantly connected with with our guest speaker tonight. And she has a phenomenal story as well. I'm not even going to steal her thunder. I'm just going to tell you that she is a social media guru. She's a no nonsense type of chick. I done heard it through the grapevine, honey. She don't play no games. And so that's my type of chick all day long. She has a beautiful and infectious smile, a warm spirit, but not only that, she is a beast in this business. It is none other than my new boo, because once I know you, that's it. You my boo. New boo, Miss Marissa Mazziotti, and I hope I didn't butcher your last name. Hey, Marissa.
Crystal, one sec. Record.
I did.
Are you? Okay, my bad.
Yeah.
All
Thank
right.
you. See, my accountability department, she keep me straight.
No, I love that. Thank you so much for having me. Honestly, that introduction was like too good. I don't know how I'm going to follow that. So I'm just excited to be part of this. I think this is really exciting. I think it's amazing to connect with more women in the business, leaders in the business. And I am very excited to see all of you, including you, Crystal, on stage at the next event. That is my goal, is to see how many ladies we can get on the convention stage to just even open with that right there. And now I'm already going on a tangent, but I'm the same way as you. I can remember every single woman that spoke at convention for the last 3 years because one, they're amazing, but two, there's just not that many. So to talk about how hungry the industry is for female leaders, it is like just getting started. So I'm very excited to be here with you guys.
Thank you. Absolutely. And you know what? I've been having this joke, okay, with all of my brothers, with my business partners, all the guys. And I just had to snap my fingers and let them know, hey, you do know this is the year of the woman, right? And I think I'm going to change it because this year is going by so fast and I don't feel like we're going anywhere. So I'm just going to say this is the decade of the women. Okay. We are here. We are ready to kill it. And we are ready just to write some apps and take names. Okay.
Yes,
So,
ma'am. I love that.
yeah. So let's jump right on in it, Marissa. One of the things that I learned about you is that you have a really interesting story. You have a story kind of like the person that brought me into the business. You actually got started from a friend of a friend of a friend. Is that right? And so
Yeah.
it wasn't like so much direct, but a friend of like it was, a domino effect. Can you talk to us a little bit about how you actually fumbled, I guess, into FFL and what it really did for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I got started about 3.5 years ago, coming up on 4 years, which is like the industry is just getting started. So that makes me like an old person, I feel like, in this business. I feel like just yesterday I was like the new agent. So about 3.5 years ago, and I know we'll talk about the power of social media later, but this is also why it's so important to me. So I was 23 at the time. I was working in medical transportation for people who get organ transplants for like Donor Network of Arizona, Donor Network of Nevada. So not remotely anything in sales, nothing with insurance. And I was actually going back to get a master's degree. So I was doing my online schooling when one of my managers that worked at my job knew a girl that worked here. He like knew her mom or something. And so one day out of the blue, he sends me this thing on Instagram and he's like, hey, if this girl like is doing well, like he's like, I know this girl, she's great, but like if she can do it, you should do it. And I was just like, blew it off completely. I was like, I looked at her page for a while. I was like, no, I think that first of all, I thought it was fake. So I was like, that's not even real. Like, don't be sending me that BS. Like, I'm just going to go back to my studying and go back to my job. And so I sat on the message for like 2 to 3 weeks. And then finally, I think something happened at work that day where I was just like over it. So then I was like, shoot, I'm just going to message her. And even then, when I talked to this girl, I was like, I still just don't believe that. Like, I've been going to school, I've been doing all this stuff. I'm kind of on this path. And she was like, okay, well, you don't have anything to lose. So like, just get your insurance license. And if you don't do it, you don't do it. And here I am almost 4 years later. And I like went all in from the jump.
Wow, that is amazing. Like, it's crazy because I was kind of told, like, you'll be great at this, do it. But
Yeah.
just look at your background. I love your background. That's not anything that's common, right? That is one of those backgrounds or those industries where it's like, you do what again? I don't think anybody wakes up and says they want to necessarily do that. So it's kind of odd, but look at you. You're killing it in this game, killing it in this business. And I just want to talk about the how. Let's talk about the how for you because our theme for tonight is sizzling summer, right? It's hot. We are ready to shed our clothes and get in somebody's pool. We're ready to get rid of our kids, maybe even get rid of our spouses and just be free and do whatever the heck we want to do. But at the same time, guess what? We have a business to run. We have goals and things that we want to tackle. And so talk to us a little bit about, and I'll let you just go because I already know like what you do and how you're doing it, but I really want you to like really go all in and break down your social media platform and your social media marketing, how you do it. Because one of the things that I just really want to point out to the ladies, and you shared this with me, you said, well, I used to live in Arizona and now I'm on the East Coast. And so I have teams on both coasts. And I was like, yeah, that can be a challenge in itself, right? But thank God for the internet, thank God for social media. Talk to us a little bit about how you have really like capitalized on that, how you manage your teams, how you keep your sanity, how you do all of that. I'm just gonna let you go because I know that's a lot.
Yeah, well, first of all, I don't know that there is any sanity. I think I'm just getting it back. So the first couple of years, it is go, go, go. And I think something that's like really important to start off with. I know the topic of this is sizzle in summer. We have the idea behind, it's going to be slower. We're going to go on our vacations. I'm not a mom, but I was raised by a single mom. So I know the idea of like, hey, the kids are home from the summer. So I have a lot of stuff that I need to do with them and things like that. And Crystal, I know you've already given me permission. I am just going to be a straight up person. I'm going to be really transparent. I'm going to say what I think. If anyone doesn't like it, it's just, I still love you guys. So here's the idea. I think you have to be really careful, even with the idea of talking about how, you know, it's summer and what are we going to do and things like that, because it's almost like this idea of summer is a limiting belief. Right. So the reality is, if I let myself think of like, oh my goodness, the next 3 months are going to be summertime. I'm going to be hot. I'm going to want to go on vacations, which I do. I'm going to want to drink, you know, margaritas, which I don't even like tequila. So I would be drinking something else, but I want to be by the pool, sipping something yummy and hanging out with my friends and doing my thing. Then if I let that in my mind about summer, then I'll think that way about other times of the year. So then all of a sudden it's like, well, now it's the holidays. Well, now it's my birthday month. Well, now it's my friend's birthday month. Well, now it's my cousin's anniversary month. And now it's the weekend, right? Then you even get into the weekend and things like that. So I think, first of all, it's got to be a mentality thing in the summer as well as the entire year of like, the summer was created when you're in school. That's it. That's the only time this idea of summer exists. It's because kids go to school. And if you're a teacher, you have a summer. And then if you go to college, you have a summer. But outside of like, you're the first 18 years of your life, summer is not a thing. So the majority of your lifetime, there is no summer. Like, you still pay the bills, you know, people are, their bill collectors are still like, hey, where's our money? We got to get this, we got to go. So I think the first thing is to kind of wrap your head around, like, what is this idea of summer? Your kids are out of school, but that's because they're kids, right? If you're a teacher, you have the one job that has summers off, right? That's it. But other than like the school system, there is no summer, right? So I think for me, that is something that I really had to change. And I had to do that like all around starting the business, because I was so used to working a shift. So for me, it would be like, well, if my shift is over at 5, then I'm off at 5. If it's the summer, if it's the weekend, if it's the holidays, if it's Thanksgiving, if it's whatever it is, then all of a sudden you have all these beliefs, and it goes from just being 3 months of summer to now I don't work all these, you know, all of a sudden now you're not working 150 days a year. So the reality is, I think I would start with that, of asking yourself, what is summer? Like, what does that even mean to me? And like, unless my bills are stopped, I can't stop working. So I think that's the first thing. And I think the second thing is, a lot of times too, Crystal, we have this like all or nothing mentality. And the reality is like, most of us got into this business because we like the freedom that it could give us. Well, the freedom only exists if you have the consistency that you need to have in the business. So it's not all or nothing. It's not like, oh my goodness, if I go to Hawaii for 7 days, you should. That's why we got into this business. Like, we got into the business so we can make good money, we can help families, and we can go where we need to go and work from anywhere. But the problem is, a lot of us get to these places and we get to these things and then we don't work. So work from anywhere is not work from anywhere if you're not working. So sometimes we have this all or nothing mentality where it's like, I can't go on any vacations and I can't do anything like that. I can't, you know, hang out with my family. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying, if you can do it, but you can have the balance of like, okay, if I'm going to go on vacation with my kids are out of school, I'm going to take them for 5 days to this place. You can't dial the phone 2 hours a day. You can't be on your social media recruiting 4 people a day or doing 2 interviews real quick, 15 minutes, boom, 2 in the morning, 2 at night, you get 4 in a day. Right? You can't be, you know, sending out text messages. A lot of people are booking appointments on a text message real quick, right? You set up one IUL appointment for the time that you're going to be with your kids on this vacation or whatever, right? So the reality is, the idea of the business is to have freedom, and you can have whatever freedom you want. You can, you know, do what you need to do on the weekends, be with your kids, be able to go places with your kids if you're at their games, or do whatever they need to do. And now, hey, I'm on my phone, I got to do this. Hey, I saw you play, but now I'm on my phone, I got to recruit this person. I'm texting this person back on Instagram. I'm making this content really quick. Let me record a quick selfie video in my car to put out to recruits really quick while I'm doing what I'm doing. So I think the mentality can't be this all or nothing. I'm either not working at all because I'm zoned out and I'm with my family and I'm on my vacation, I'm at the pool, versus I'm doing all those things, but I'm actually being productive and getting stuff done for the business while I'm doing it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I think that's super important, because I've been very, very blessed in this business. Like, I didn't even fly on a plane until I was 19, because my family was not, we couldn't afford it. We didn't go places. If we did, we drove. Like, I grew up in small town Montana. So I've been more places in the last like 3 years of being in this business than I had ever gone my entire life. So that's super blessed. But every time I've been on those, like, I'm not like, hey, I'm going here, so I can't jump on this Zoom call. Or, hey, I'm going to be, I'm going to be in Cancun with my family or doing whatever, but I can't hop, so I can't take recruiting calls for 2 days. Like, no, I'm going to be in those places. I'm going to be present. But if I got to step away because I got to take a call or post on Instagram or message somebody back or do a quick recruiting interview or hop on the phone because I already had a, appointment scheduled, then that's what I got to do. And I think that is how you create the freedom, but then also not like completely fall off and let your business fail. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it when I'm so happy you're addressing this all or nothing mentality, because burnout is a real thing, right? But lack of focus is also a very, very real thing. So I'm so glad that you touched on that. And yeah, we talk about it all the time. Like, I always joke with friends, and especially my teacher friends, y'all the only ones that get summers off, and really you don't, because half of y'all still do part-time work or do summer school anyway, so you're still not off. Like, we're constantly working as adults. That's what we do. We work. And so your time off still is when you plan that vacation or plan that time. And I hate to say it, if you're anything like me, you're still kind of thinking about work and figuring out what you got to do. And it's a part of you. So you're right. We lose our mind when I think we become entrepreneurs. Like, we warped into a whole nother planet. Change is the same thing. So I'm so happy you touched on that. Yeah, for sure.
And you almost have to think too, Crystal, like, what about if I was I do think this is something that I have done in the business, and, at times, and other, women, everyone in the business does it at some point. It's almost like you have to ask yourself, like, if I was at my old job, would I be allowed to do that? Right. So sometimes people are like, hey, I haven't written a policy for 2 weeks. I haven't been able to, I haven't written a policy for 2 weeks. I haven't called anybody for 2 weeks. And it's like, what actual regular job has 2 weeks that you can just take completely off? Like, hardly any. That would be like your entire PTO that you've built up. Like, you'd be using it all, right? So the reality is, or we get into this mentality where it's like, hey, I gotta, my friend called me, they want me to come over at 3, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. And it's like, if you are your old job, like, you couldn't just call your boss and be like, hey, Crystal, sorry about this, I'm not coming in today because I got this thing going on. And unless it's like a medical emergency, or like your child is sick and like you have to do something about it, like, you can't just bounce and leave your job. Right. So I think, like, you have to think about that too. And I even do that sometimes with my staff, right? Like, I have girls in my office that work. One time and I'm very free flowing with them. I love them. They're all ladies, which is fantastic, which makes them even more exciting. But one time my staff member just like went on like a vacation, and I call her and I'm like, hey, where are you at? And she's like, oh, I'm skiing in Aspen, like, while I'm working. And I'm like, what are we talking about here? Like, you're not just allowed to do that. Like, you have a normal job. I don't have a normal job, but you have a normal job. So that kind of made me think, like, we get into this mentality where even sometimes, like, we get so free that we forget to think, like, I wouldn't be able to do that. So sometimes I would challenge you guys to ask yourself that too, when you get too far from the business. Like, if I was back at my 9 to 5, or if I was back at my normal job, would I be allowed to do this? And if the answer is no, like, you should probably plug into your business hard right now.
Absolutely. As you can see, we have the newest member of FFL right here on the screen with me.
I love that.
This is my brand new niece. My brother and sister-in-law, decided to pull the auntie card tonight, and it's okay. So I'm letting you all know that if I can do this and host the call, you can too. Ding.
100%. I love that right there. Women in business. I love that.
Hey, it's what we do. It's what we do. So one thing I do know about you is that you are like the social media marketing, like, queen. Talk to me about how you have really capitalized on utilizing social media, because one thing that we're really doing now, especially under FFF National, is we're recruiting. We're expanding. And it's funny because I was talking to my team. I said, there's really not anywhere you can go in social media now, especially if you're engaged and plugged in, that you're not swiping or even getting in your car, listening to the radio, that there is not some sort of a commercial about insurance, right? If you are really plugged in like you're supposed to be, those algorithms will have you really saying to yourself, or they should say to yourself, wait a minute, if this is a commercial and somebody else hears this, I need to get on the ball. So how are you utilizing your social media through marketing to really recruit, build, and grow your agency? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I love that. And I love social media, not because I, love being on Instagram or I love sharing everything or anything. Sometimes I get burnt out about Instagram and I'm like, God, I got to go post something today. Like, I know and sometimes you're uncomfortable. You're like, God, I have to do that. It looks so weird. So I get that 100%, guys, but I'm going to be 100% transparent with you guys. You have to do it. It's not even like an optional thing at this point. And that is how much I believe in it. because of the day and age that we're in, right? Like you said, everyone's on their phones all the time. The reality is it's also free, right? And here's the legitimacy of it. If you don't do it, I believe you will get left behind in the business. I believe that. I do not see any major agencies that are growing right now that are not utilizing social media in some way. And that can be in two forms. That can be from your recruiting platform to build your agency, grow, connect with other people who might want to join you and share the opportunity, or even leads, right? Like even we've been very, like guys, all of our leads come from social media. Like, I don't know, that's not a secret, right? If you're running IUL leads, they're coming from social media. They're coming from Facebook ads, Instagram ads, things like that. So the reality is everything is moving in that direction and has been for several years. So I want to be nice and be like, hey guys, you should do this. But the reality is you have to do it. If you want to grow a business in any capacity, you must. There's just no way around it. And whether you pay someone to help you do it, whether you start getting uncomfortable in doing it, whatever you want to do, but there must be an online presence. So from the recruiting standpoint, the reality is that's obviously how I found the business. And what people tend to forget, or what people tend to not know, is you're not trying to connect with people to recruit them. You're trying to connect with people to connect with people to connect with people that they might know. So if you think about it, right, like the way that I found the business was my manager who worked with me, and he's a firefighter at a department in Arizona, and that was his full-time job, and his part-time job was what he did on the side, which is where I worked my full-time job. So he's not joining the business at all. Like he was not remotely like interested. He's not ever going to sell insurance. Ain't ever going to happen. So he wasn't like connecting because he was interested in it. He was like, hey, you should do this. Right. And I've got a lot of recruits on my business, not necessarily people that I've connected with on social media, but people that they've sent my stuff. Right. Someone else, a friend of a friend of a friend, sent them the stuff on social media and was like, hey, I don't know what this is, but maybe you should look into it. So the reality is you're not necessarily trying to connect with a certain person. You're trying to connect with who they know and who they know and who they know. Right. And the second part would also be leads, right? A lot of people are, I mean, guys, Juan Franco, you guys know him. We love him. He's the best. But if he can have 500,000 followers on TikTok and Instagram, then like every woman in America can, okay? Because Juan I love him, but like, and I would say this to him. We always joke. He's always like, Marissa, I want to, I did a team call for him one time. And then all of his team was fired up. And he's like, you're not allowed on my team call anymore because now all my agent wants to join your team. So I always joke with him about it. So anyway, but I'm like, Juan is not like this. He's not doing anything crazy. He doesn't have this crazy content manager. He doesn't even know how to hold the dang camera half the time. He doesn't have all these crazy tools. And he's really not that interesting. So every female on this call, everyone on this call could have a huge presence if they really wanted to. You just have to put the time into it. So you can get IUL leads, you can get recruiting leads. You can basically, I do think it's limitless. And the other thing too, Crystal, is that it's free. So that's what people understand. If you're a new agent and you're just getting ramped up and you're like, hey, I see all these other people that are spending money on recruiting, they're spending money on building, they're investing into, go high level, and they're investing into these, resumes and LinkedIn and things like that. Why would you not just start to grow your presence and start to connect with people for free 99 and eventually start to grow your business? So that, I think, is the why you have to do it. And the reality is because everyone else is doing it. So you can't keep up from an agency building standpoint if you don't. Now, also, the thing I love so much about social media and why I'm so passionate about it is because it does not discriminate. So if you are uncomfortable in any capacity, because like I've heard some, like I had a conversation not too long ago with a lady on my team, and she's much older than me, and she's like, Marissa, well, I could never do social media because you don't have what I have. I'm much older, I have kids, I have this, I have that, like no. And I'm like, no, that's the point. Actually, you're going to connect with people that I cannot connect with. You're going to recruit people that I cannot recruit, right? It's not as easy for me to recruit moms as it is for someone who has kids. So I'm like, that's a point, is everyone needs to be out there telling their story to connect with the people that person can't connect with, right? Social media is such an attraction marketing tool that like when you see someone and you start listening to their story and seeing who they are and see what they've gone through, and you start, talking to them about what they're doing, they want to join because they want to join you. And that's another thing that I think is so awesome social media. If someone puts in a resume or they get on, LinkedIn, or they're submitting, jobs to Indeed, that's fine. But those are more like applications. Whereas if someone gets on your social media and they're like, hey, I've been watching Crystal, she's a beast, she's a mom, she's got this going on, she's done this in other businesses, she's doing this however many, and they're like, I connect with her, I resonate with her, something about you called them to you, and they want to connect with you, they want to work with you. I feel like that's a lot more powerful of a recruit than somebody who just filled out an Indeed ad. Right. So the reality is, even if you're uncomfortable and you don't know where to start, like, you don't know who you're going to connect with and who's going to resonate with something that you say or something that you've been through. So I just think that social media has to be, a number one priority, especially for going an agency. And here's the thing. If you don't know what to do, just do something. That's my biggest thing, right? Like, no one knew the answers. I didn't have a big like social media marketing person that was like, hey, you need to do this at this time of day. Like, I don't know. I just started, I was like, every day I'm going to post something about FFL. Every day I'm going to talk about, something at FFL changed my life, or then I'm going to post a lifestyle story. Then I'm going to post something funny and see if that works. Like, the idea is just, again, you don't know what people are going to be attracted to. So you kind of just got to put everything out there. Right. And same thing when we talk about balance, and when we talk about, the summers, and we talk about, women needing to have, they wear all these hats, right? So they're mom, and then they're entrepreneur, and then they're wife, and then they're all this stuff. Like, you can be doing all of those things and still be connecting with people on social media. You can throw up a post once a day, no matter what you're doing, right? You can throw up a little recruiting thing, a little recruiting ad. I always put like words on my stories. You can take a picture of your lifestyle about whatever it is you're doing that day. At my kid's soccer game. How am I at my kid's soccer game at 12 p.m. on a Tuesday? Well, because this is what I do for work. I see a lot of moms here. Here's the other thing. You can be recruiting people at the soccer game. So the reality is, like, there's a lot of stuff that you do already in your daily life that you could be talking about on social media, or just talking to people on social media, that would help your business grow. But a lot of people don't want to, because they separate this idea of like, here's my business and here's my personal life. Guys, this business is your personal life. This is your personal life. This business is your personal life if you want it to grow. It all has to mesh and flow in one. If you try to have these like work hours where you're like, I'm talking about my business during these hours and I'm posting on social media during these hours, then like, it's not gonna work. It is, right? Some people, I bet more than half the people on this call, you have friends, family, cousins, brothers, sisters, people, like, they don't even know what you do. Like, they don't even know about this insurance selling thing. And it's not that they need to know about it because you're going to try to recruit them. They don't. But what if they know about it, and then next Tuesday they happen to be at the taco shop, and the guy who's working at the taco shop is like, doing really good, and your sister, who's not going to join the business, is like, hey, guy at the taco shop, my sister's in insurance, and you seem like you'd be really good. You have a great personality for it. And he says, oh my goodness, I've actually been looking for something new. Do you have her contact information? So the reality is, it's not about you going around and talking, because that was my uncomfortability at the beginning. Like, I'm going to go tell people I do insurance. I'm going to go tell people I work for FFL, and you feel like you're weird. But the idea is, you're not trying to recruit those people. You're just trying to let people know, this is what I do. This is what I do. Or even worse, what if someone in your family or one of your friends passes away because they didn't even know you were a life insurance agent? Right? So like, the reality is, you don't have to be this like pushy, weird, I'm going to work my friends and family, but they do need to know what you're doing. Imagine that. Imagine if everyone on this call, because I know 71 people have not told their friends and family what they do. They're just like, oh, I'm kind of doing this thing over here. What if you actually just told them, hey, not going to sell you anything. You're a grown up, don't need to do that. Not going to try to bait you on anything like that. I just want to let you know, I'm in the life insurance space. We're looking to hire new sales reps. If you come across anyone who you think might be interested, just shoot them my contact. Right? You never know who they're going to run into. So I think that's the power of social media. I think it's more effective than any other cold market, recruiting tool that we have. I think it's the most powerful thing we have for clients as well. And I'll just keep going. I think the other thing too, Crystal, is like, a lot of people are like, well, I don't know what to do. You have to put it in your to-do list, right? So your social media and your recruiting and building a business has to be as important as whatever you do on a daily basis. So like, if I have my to-do list right here, and my to-do list is like, go through my emails, reply to this person, send an email to this person, I'm putting post on my Instagram story, post a regular post on my Facebook, make sure the ad is running or whatever, or I have to post a new picture or create content, whatever. I'm putting that in my to-do list like it's a job, right? Because it's part of your business. So then every single day, if that's part of your routine, you're going to check it off the list, just like you would if you have to make 250 dials a day, or you have to, your goal is to close 5,000 AP or whatever it is for the week. Then like, your social media goals have to go on your to-do list. Like, they're not optional. They have to get done, just like you're sending your emails, or if you have agents to contract and all this like super serious back office stuff that goes on, your social media and your building your presence has to be as important as that.
Girl, first of all, I'm just going to come to wherever you are and follow you probably for like, I don't know, a month. Because that was awesome. And one is so ironic because I'm looking at the chat, and the one thing Elke put it, she hit it on the nose. We have to get uncomfortable to grow. And that's what it is. So I'm going to speak to the ladies real quick here for a second. I am a 90s girl, right? And I think, I'm not getting into the age of everybody here, but I remember when we had house phones. And I'm sorry, if we want to date ourselves, then so be it. I look young, I look good, so don't worry about it, okay? But I remember house phones. And then I remember the first cell phone. I remember my dad first got a phone in the car. Like, I'm just giving you progression. I remember, AOL and dial-up, right? And I remember all these things and Craigslist, and then I remember some of the scams that came along with it, as you mentioned, right? And so I'm painting a picture, I'm painting a story here because it's all about progression. So we have fears, especially those that are coming up in my era, and anybody that's older than me, those fears are there. Now let me fast forward. My daughter is 22. My son is 24. They pretty much grew this one right here, okay? They have grown up with the phone in their hand. Technology is in their hand. They don't know any different. As a matter of fact, if they don't have technology, they're gonna have a fit. So how do you propose the two different audiences connecting? Because you have that older audience, such as myself. I'm not saying I'm old, but that fear that sinks in of social media. And then you have that young audience that's fearless when it comes to social media. How do you propose tackling both audiences to get us to move? Because we know we need it. We're on it. I have Instagram. We have Facebook. I have Twitter, all these social, and I'm just like, it's overwhelming, right? But my daughter, my children in their 20s, and then my cousins in their 30s, they're like, cuz seriously, it's all we know. So how do you bridge that gap? Because we have all these women up here of all different ages, and I'm pretty sure I've hit in every category. How do we work that out? What is your blueprint to how we work that out?
Yeah, well, first of all, great question. And I actually had dial-up internet too. So I'm not as young as you think I am. So I remember when you couldn't be on the phone because the thing was like, and then my mom's screaming at me like, you have to get off the internet so I can talk on the phone. So I think the thing is, I think the first thing you said is using all platforms, right? So the reality is you never know what platform is going to kick, right? And here's the thing. First, it was Facebook. So a lot of your older generation of people, and not even older, but I mean, you know what I mean? They're still on Facebook, and they're probably going to stay on Facebook. Now, we're obviously not going back as far as MySpace, but they're still doing the statuses and they're posting and things like that. So I think you have to have a presence on Facebook, or at least be posting on everywhere, right? The second thing is obviously then came Instagram, and that was before TikTok. Now the new thing is like TikTok is taken over, and Twitter, and you have Threads, and you have all these things. So I think trying to get on all platforms. Now, what a lot of times people don't understand too, Crystal, is you don't have to do different things on all of those platforms. You can do the same thing, right? You can post one post on multiple different platforms. You can post, something on Instagram that's going to go both to Instagram and Facebook. So I think that would be the first thing, is make sure you're utilizing all the different places, so that way you can kind of start to bridge that gap, but don't sleep on any of them, right? You never know if TikTok's going to work. It's going to create a different demographic. You never know if Instagram's going to work. That's going to be a different demographic. And then same thing with Facebook and posting statuses and stories and things like that. So I think first of all is utilizing that. And the second thing, guys, is I think ask for help. And this is where it relates also into the personal production. So when I say that social media is free at first for you to do what you need to do to get your business off the ground. But the reality is it doesn't need to be more complicated. If you have an admin and you might be a little bit older, and so you know what's up with Facebook and things like that, and you have it like who just put that in the chat, said I include my daughter in my videos. Exactly. Right. So the reality is, as you're posting and you have young daughters and you have young sons, they know what to do. Ask them for help. Or two, you might even pay somebody, right? Like the reality is you guys think I'm the queen of social media. I do what I knew how to do on like my personal page, but I also have a marketing girl who does my content. Like she edits my videos for me. She tells me like, hey, here's a good idea that I've been searching around on TikTok and this girl made this video. You should make this video. Or I've noticed on your algorithm, this is what performs really well for you, blah, blah, blah. And I've also seen some people in the business too. Like if you look at like a lot of these people that were here well before we were, they were all guys and they were all older and they don't know what the heck to do with social media. Do you think they do it on their own? No. They hired girls who are, 23, 24, 25, 26. They know what the heck they're doing and they hired them to help them a little bit as far as the marketing. So I think that's where your personal production comes in as well. Is everything's free at first. You're going to get where you need to get to. I'm not a big proponent, Crystal, of telling everyone like, oh, you just need to invest $1 gazillion into the business to get it going, because that's not going to work either. But I do think is if you're producing and you're selling 20, 30 grand a month, like you should be, like everybody should be first until they get their business off the ground. And then you can use that to hire an admin, or you already have an admin. Your admin should be doing stuff to help you on the social media front to try to figure out what works for you, doesn't work for you, right? Because you might throw a post up there, but you don't have time to necessarily look at the analytics of it. So if you got to hire somebody, or you got to get an admin, or you got to get even a VA, right? They have those VA companies that a lot of people at FFL use, just like people use their dialer systems or whatever they use. It's like pay somebody $9 an hour, 20 bucks or 20 hours a week to go on and make graphics for you and say, hey, this is what's working, this one isn't working. Can you make this video? Like, that's what I do. A lot of times people are like, oh, Marissa, you made this video. It was really cool. I'm like, that's because my social media girl reached out to me and said I had to make this video. I didn't necessarily like go on and find it and say, I think this is a great idea. She said, you need to do this because she found it as a good idea. So the reality is, don't also try to do it all on your own. I think ask for help, ask your kids for help, ask your teenagers friends for help, ask your, someone who's a little bit, if you don't know, right? Ask the people in the business too, right? I've done it. I kind of figured it out. You can ask Nina, you can ask Alondra, you can ask freaking call Lisa Beast at it. She's been making these reels. Like she knows what she's doing on social media too. Frank and Jamie, they're both great. So I think like just ask for help and don't think you have to do it all on your own as well.
Yeah, as women, that's probably one of our flaws. Yeah. We're used to doing everything ourselves. And so asking for help definitely is a humbling thing, but it's definitely necessary. Talk to me about your transition. You just moved. You're managing team on both coasts. Talk about that because, I'm in Virginia. I have a team in California, and it's crazy because I'm up at 8:00. I do a morning mindset. We're on Zoom. And by the time 8:00 Eastern Standard Time rolls around, Crystal is tired. Crystal is fatigued, but my West Coast team is 5:00. They're just getting off work. They're ready to ramp up and get going. How are you managing that? Not to mention, I'm an aunt, as you see, and I and I have, kids and a life and all this other stuff. How do you manage it? And what are some of your tips for doing the coast to coast type of situation?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great question. So I think the first thing is part of it is just going to be, you just have to do it, right? But I think the second thing is the empowering people and making sure that they have the right resources. So I'm the same way, believe it or not. Like 8:30, I'm like, okay, it's time to like wind down, watch my show, drink my tea, go to sleep. Like I go to sleep early, I get up early. That's kind of how it goes. Sometimes I don't get up early, depending. I feel like I need my beauty sleep. So I'm not necessarily saying that I'm up at 5 so that I can answer, the East Coast, West Coast and things like that. So I think the thing that I did actually wrong, and this is a good question, for a really long time is, again, I tried to do it all on my own, and I wanted to be the person's first text message. I wanted to be their call. I wanted to be every single person on the team call me for everything. And I think a little bit that can be like, hey, the business is your baby. And it can also be like a control thing. So now what I try to do, as I'm on the East Coast and they're on the West Coast, or sometimes I'm on the West Coast and I have people on the East Coast as well, I try to put all the resources in place and all the leaders in place and leaning more on other parts of my team and other parts of my organization. So that way, if for whatever reason I'm not available, or Crystal needs to go to bed at 8 9 p.m., like girl's got to do what she's got to do, that they can still be successful. So they should have all the training they need. They should have the Zooms that they need. They should have, call Lee's number, Frank, Jamie's number. Like, I don't care. I'll text them. I'll be like, well, hey, if you need something, hey, and I got my girl, Nicole, she's on the West Coast. She doesn't have a big team, but she's a great producer. So I'm like, hey, if for whatever reason I don't get back to you, I need you to be connected in a group message with Nicole so you can ask her what policy to write. I need you to be on live dial so that way you can ask this other manager what to do, because I'm never going to be the reason for somebody's success, but I also want to make sure that they can't blame me if they fail either. And part of that is putting the right resources and connecting them. And I tell that to every single person I recruit as well, because I used to recruit a lot of people and they'd be like, well, I'm going to work directly with you, right? And I'd be like, yeah, of course, Crystal, you're going to work directly with me, but also I'm going to make sure you have a lot of other people to reach out to. So in the event that I, am doing something, or I'm out of office, or I am sleeping, for God forbid, or I can't be there, then you have other people to reach out to. And the reason that you didn't write a policy or didn't make a sale will never be because of me. It will be because you didn't reach out to the right resources. So that's what I would say. And I would actually say that for a lot of different things in the business for a long, long, long time. And this has nothing to do with the topic that we're on right now. For a long, long, long time, my biggest flaw in the business was enabling people. I wanted to do everything for them. I wanted to be able to pick up every text message, every single call. Doesn't matter what I was doing. I would drop it. I would write the dang policy for them if they would let me. And the reality,
please get out my backyard.
literally. And I would do that for them. And to the point where I realized that's actually hurting them a lot more than it was helping them. So now I'm like, if you have the resource, you know where the Zoom is at, you got Colleen's number. And I'm also not weird about it, right? Like a lot of people in the business are like, oh, Marissa's agent texts me, so she must not be a good leader. I'm like, no, dog, I told them to text you because I was busy. So I told them, you work here too. You should call Colleen. She'll tell you what to do. So the reality is I don't have ego like that where I'm like, hey, don't call this person because that's going to make me look like I'm bad if my people. I'm like, dude, call everybody. That's why I'm going to get on that person's training, get on Frank's training, because if you get on Frank's training, that's one less training I got to do for you. So let's both go learn from Frank. So the reality is I think a lot of that is like releasing control from your business as well.
Well, I just officially want to thank you for stepping on all of my toes. Because I think that is definitely something, especially as emerging leaders. And I know Holly would back me up, KG would back me up. I'm looking at a lot of rising leaders, a lot of ladies up here. And one of the conversations that Holly and I had, you hit it at the very beginning of the call. I said, we definitely hone in, right? We are all about the ladies. But the reason why we have Thrive every month is for this. This is the reason why, ladies, because we need to understand that sometimes you have to draw the line in the sand. You have to know when to say when. And you also have to just empower people and let go. Part of empowering is letting go. So as I mentioned, I'm a mother. I have 2 children. I am in that stage right now of letting go. Why? Because they're 22 and 24 years old. I think I've done just about everything I can do. But it's terrifying, right? And so I can imagine if I flip it based off of everything you just said, it's a little terrifying having to let go because you want to control and manage your business. I mean, hey, isn't that what the guys do? Isn't that what we were taught in the boardrooms, in whatever corporate office or job that we were a part of? But that's not always how it has to be. One of the most important lessons that I learned, and you literally just summed it up, long time ago, I had a mentor, and she said, the best thing you can do is to teach other people what you can do. She said, and don't be fearful about it. And I think that's what it is. That fear sets in. We get a little nervous. We want to share, want to overgive, but we still want to hold on and protect. You can't grow that way. Somebody put in the chat, mama bear. Yeah, that mother bear hits in, and you don't even have to be a mother to have it. It's just that protective nature that we have as women. But that nurturing also helps us. That's the reason why we're able to grow, why we can talk, why we can finesse, and we're vibrant, and we are the best in this industry and do what we do. So I love it. Oh my God, you said so much. I'm going to be listening to this own recording myself. This is going to be awesome. Lastly, okay, so you touched on the social media, you touched on the 3 F's, right? Friend of a friend of a friend. I'm going to tag that. I want y'all to tag that. You heard it here first. I'm claiming it, but I'm going to let y'all use it. Friend of a friend of a friend. And you talked about, of course, East Coast, West Coast, and building the team. If you could summarize for us, what has been your greatest challenge in this particular arena, and how have you overcome it so that it can be empowering and something empowering for you to lead the ladies tonight?
Yeah, I love that question. And actually, what we just talked about has by far been my biggest challenge in the business, and even just in life, is that I want everything to go a certain way. And So when you have a team, like you're managing independent contractors, right? A lot of times, just like you said, mama bear kicks in, you want it more for some people than they want it for them, right? I had this idea in my head that if I don't do everything for everyone all the time, right? If I'm not enabling everybody and I'm not there and I pick up every single message and I do this and I wake up early and I go to sleep late and I'm there and I don't miss a single message, I don't make it like if you told me, Crystal, a year ago, like, hey, I need to get something done with like my contracting from corporate, or I'd be like, I'll call the carrier for you, no problem. It's like, dude, I don't have time to call the carriers, call their own dang carrier, right?
Right.
So the reality is, and someone told me this a long time ago, but I didn't believe it until very recently when I made like a conscious decision of like, hey, I'm gonna let everyone's gonna do it or they're not gonna do it. And I can't have my hands in everything all the time. Is the reality is you cannot, in this business, you cannot say the right thing to the wrong person, and you
Right.
cannot say the wrong thing to the right person. So you can be a great leader. You can be there for people. Even like last week that I've done lock-ins for my team like for 2 years. Last week was the first lock-in where I was like, hey, you guys can do this one. And it was hard. It was hard for me. Like, I was like, are you sure I shouldn't go? I was like, I think I should go. I think I should go. I think I should show up to the lock-in. Let me try to pay for it. Let me try to plan it. And then I'd be like, no. I entered the chat, left the chat, entered the chat, left the chat. Marissa, they're like, Marissa, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm trying to be involved, but then I'm not trying to be involved because I'm trying to, that's how you develop leaders. So in the core, I think my business would be a lot bigger had I empowered more people and allowed them to be leaders and allowed them to grow into their business and allowed them to, give them more of a chance to step up and grow and speak on stage and get in a leadership role and, hey, figure it out with your leads and, hey, call the carriers and do your own thing. I think my business would be farther along. So that's what we're working on now. And I think as women, a lot of times we're so used to, you manage the home and you manage the family and you manage the finances and you do all this stuff as a woman. And then all of a sudden you have like a bunch of independent contractors who you're trying to manage all the time. And the reality is if they're going to do it, they're going to do it. And if they're not going to do it, they're not going to do it. So very recently, Crystal, I took a little bit of step back and I was like, hey, I'm gonna work my thing. I'm gonna do what I need to do with my direct agents, but you guys that have teams, you're good to go. And then someone said to me the other day, like, Marissa, isn't that funny? Your whole team didn't quit. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. They're like, see, you could have done that a while ago. Like, I don't know. I had this idea that like, if I wasn't doing everything for everybody, well, would everybody just disappear? Like, no, that's not going to happen. They're going to write their business. They're going to recruit. They're going to have fun. They're going to call you when they need for help. They're going to do what they need to do. So that I think is another question in the chat that was up earlier was how do you manage the burnout? I believe that every time I've been burnt out in the business has been my fault. So it's not the business's fault. It's your lack of being able to manage yourself and your emotions. And that's another thing, right? There's been definitely times where I've been over emotional about the business. And the reality is like, business is business, personal is personal. You work with people and then you don't work with people. Like it is what it is and life is going to go on. So that is one thing, Crystal, that we're so great as far as women go because we're a lot more emotionally intelligent than men. And I don't care if there's men on this call, I'm saying it because we are. Okay, we're a lot more emotionally intelligent. So that makes us really good at sales. That makes us really good at managing teams. That makes us really good at connecting with people. There's a lot of people out there, ladies, that they would much rather work with a woman than a man, strictly for the emotional intelligence piece of it. Like they all the time, like I have people reach out to me, they're like, I have to work with a female because of that. But then also, if you let it go too far, that can hurt you in business. So I think that is probably the two things is knowing when to like, hey, when's my emotional ability helping me? And when is it hurting me? And also releasing control of the fact that, everyone on this call, love you all, you're all going to do great. But this call, you're either going to do it or you're not, right? This isn't going to be like a light bulb moment where you're like, oh, because Marissa said that, now I'm going to go do it. Like you already had it inside of you and you were already on your way there. The call might help, but you were going to do it or you weren't going to do it. It had nothing to do with what I did or didn't do. So I think that's a big thing is release some control, be consistent, take some balance back, but like also go to work, right? That's another thing too. And here's another thing, and I'm going to say this on the ladies' call. Do not let the fact that we are women also be an excuse to not go the freak to work. There are women out there that work every freaking day. They have several kids. They're single moms. My mom was a single mom. She always had 3 jobs. So that is one thing about me that I'm like, hey, I cannot get behind the like, oh, I'm a woman, so I can't really, it's like, dog, we're all like 50% of the population is women. So that's like a pretty, like, it's not like you're not an anomaly. Okay. If you're a single mom, you're like, unfortunately, there's a lot of single moms. You're not like, this is not a unicorn situation. Okay. There are moms out there every single day that make shit happen. There are women out there that make shit happen every single day. There are women that have 2, 3, 4, 5 jobs and 5 kids. And my mom was one of them. right? It was just me, my sister, my mom. She always had 3 jobs. Did she miss a lot of stuff? Yeah. But we had food on the table and she went to work. So the reality is also, do not have this mentality, again, limiting belief of Summer. Don't let being a woman, like, let that be your power. Don't let that be your excuse for why things can't get done. Does that make sense? Because we can go our asses to work and we can grow big, big things.
And that was a mic drop moment, ladies. So let me just sum it up. The only way to grow is to let them go. Ladies, if y'all did not get any nuggets tonight, I got a page and a half, even with my niece, and still made it happen. This was phenomenal. Marissa, I just want you to know you got a new boo in the 757. The
I'm
757
down. I'm ready.
It's VA. I'm just letting you know. And I already told you when I come to Florida, I'm calling you. So you got a new boo here, and that's just it. It's official. I have all these other 68 people to co-sign for me. And so that's it. It's been written. So ladies, I hope you enjoyed this call tonight. Just remember, just because we ladies, that's not an excuse. That's just all more reason for us to ante up and get it done. Because we already know we're fierce. We already know we're fabulous. And we already know we're here to thrive. I hope that each and every one of you got something phenomenal out of this call tonight. This was a fire call. Just knew it. I knew it was going to be fire. Thank you so much, Marissa, for coming in, dropping major, major, major nuggets for us, and helping us to really just get rejuvenated and do what we need to do. The goal, because I always leave everyone with a task, and the ladies already know I leave everyone with a task. Your job is to post. Everybody has to post something on social media in the next 24 hours. And I need you to tag me, FFL Undeniable. Tag me so that I can repost it. And let's get this community going. Let's get this thing just thriving and blowing up, because that is what's going to take us to the next level, ladies. If we can't have each other's backs, I don't know. I don't know. We have to have one another's backs. And you remember in our very first meeting, I said, we are here to fix each other's crowns. This is how we're going to fix one another's crowns. So your job, 24 hours, post something, tag FFL Undeniable. That's my logo. I just not to get a whole bunch of numbers. I just want to repost it back out so that we can keep this energy going. Thank you so much, Marissa. Oh, I appreciate you.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you for having me on.
Amazing.
Thank you, Marissa. This was awesome.
We'll see you all. See you ladies next month for another phenomenal speaker. Good night.